What is something unrealistic that you often see in movies that annoys the hell out of you? Blowing up a grainy picture makes it clearer. Enhance. My issue isn't just them blowing up a picture, it's when it's a fucking insane scenario. Damn, we need that plate number. Quote. Wait, look at that. The reflection off that guy's glasses is of the diner window, which goes off of the back of the car. Blow that up. Yes. A perfect picture with zero issues. Quote. Enhance. 'Cause it obviously magically adds pixels to the image face with rolling eyes. Enhance. Immediate DNA results. You are not the father. Similarly, immediate hacking. 2 seconds typing. I'm in. Quote. Silencers do not mute the gun. It only makes the sound more tolerable. While I agree it's unrealistic, I wouldn't have it any other way. Movie silencers are so badass. The scene in John Wick 2 where John and Cassian are sneakily shooting at each other with silenced pistols in the middle of a crowded subway terminal is so fucking stupid, and I love it. Some guns it does a really good job of muting though. The round has to be subsonic. A friend has a .22 caliber that all you hear is the click-clack of the action and then the thump of the bullet. Outside it would be pretty unnoticeable with any kind of background noises. In a quiet house, you would definitely be able to tell something just happened, but I don't think your first reaction would be that it's a gunshot. People taking their eyes off the road for like 5 seconds. They always turn themselves completely around to talk to people in the back seat or beside them, as if they couldn't hear each other otherwise. This gives me so much anxiety. There is obviously no coffee in the cup. Orders coffee, immediately takes huge ass sip. Dude, let that shit cool off a minute. Man, this one has always baffled me. Once I noticed it years ago. It's all I do now whenever any character is holding one. I just don't get why they don't fill up the cups for the scene. And I'm not talking actual hot coffee, as wouldn't water suffice and actually guide the actor into holding it realistically? Or am I missing something? High school party. Red Solo cup. Guy gets the goody two-shoes girl a nondescript drink, of which you can see light through the cup, and she houses a whole ass drink on her first night of drinking ever. I want to upvote this twice. Also, that suitcase is clearly bloody empty. Yay, why are actors so bad at acting like there is coffee in the cup? The fight-or-flight response doesn't seem to exist in horror movies. If I come across a friend's dead body in the woods, my first instinct isn't to investigate the scene. I am getting the fuck out of there and calling the police. Edit, in the context that the presence of a killer is there. I kinda wanna add something to this. One thing I hear is when they see the monster of killer thing, people say, why don't they just run? Quote. When you see something like that, you have no idea what to do in that situation. Or this might just be me and I'm the idiot in the horror movie that dies first. Why I say this is because about a year ago I was walking up from my barn at night, live on small hobby farm. And in between the barn and my house there is a field. It's about 50 feet from gate to gate. I was about 10 feet from the first gate when I heard a heavy thump. I stopped and I could feel my skin go white. About 2 more thumps later I saw an eye. Not 2, just 1 eye reflecting from my crappy headlamp. I was trying to figure out if I should turn my back to it and run back to the barn or up to the house. After a few seconds I realized it was my horse. My mom apparently let the horses in the between field to eat some grass. Also his head turned to the side, which is why I could only see 1 eye. I probably had a solid 5 seconds I could have ran but didn't. So being scared stiff is a real thing. Not to mention the complete lack of logical consequences that should come from most horror movies. Hey, good job outsmarting the Swedish troll god that hangs bodies off trees. Now have fun when the police find all your friends' eviscerated bodies out in the woods and you, only survivor, have to explain to them that it was a bunch of Swedish redneck cultists in the eldritch horror they worship. No cleanup after sex, or before, or after a raunchy night of sex. Wake up dressed in either underwear or pajamas, nice shirt and with perfect makeup. Or people just have sex at any time or after any situation. Been on the road for 2 weeks without a shower. Let's have sex. Don't most movies jump from sex to some period of time after sex? It's not like we are watching the characters every second. The way they have sex, with no protection, and then afterwards she just gets up, puts on clothes and leaves. Girl, what? And synchronized orgasms after 10 seconds of sex. The beatings people take and how quickly they get up from devastating blows. Or when someone is knocked unconscious and remains so for hours to days and is totally fine. People getting hit clean on the chin with a straight right by a 6 feet 8 inches 300 pounds beefy dude and only getting annoyed by it as opposed to having severe brain damage. Bothers me every time. Somebody writing flawless code in 60 seconds. Most hackers in films even hack into highly secured government websites within seconds. Heck, that's one of the reasons I like Mr. Robot. It's not perfect, but often they show Elliot coding and debugging in a more realistic manner. Yeah, they always skip the 5 hours of compile failed expected. Oh, duh. Let's run that again. Compile failed variable X not recognized. Ah shit, I forgot to initialize that 1 second. Fatal error, null pointer exception. God damn it. You see, they're clever. The stuff on screen is just for show so the people around them think they're an expert. It's just a video of nonsense. Meanwhile, what they're actually doing is Googling what they need and copy-pasting it from Stack Exchange. That's filled with half words and ampersands and asterisks and close parens and isn't commented at all. Hacking. Click clack clack-a-tee clack clack. The food. The poor, long-suffering food. No one eats it. No one enjoys it. People go to restaurants primarily to order something, have it arrive, and then have an argument and storm out. To be fair, by take 28, the food's probably cold and dry as fuck. Or can you imagine they bring it out fresh every time and the actor's just eating steak after steak? Sopranos was good about Tony fucking with and eating food constantly. Related, wife cooks a huge, fancy breakfast, husband runs through the kitchen while adjusting his tie, grabs a piece of toast and his briefcase. Gotta run, honey. Quote. This is one of the things that made me so happy to see in Inglourious Bastards. Hans Landa actually devours the pastry and creamy orders. I need information from this computer. Tech guy runs over and starts hammering wildly on the keyboard. I'm in. The keyboard is plugged into a Xbox, and the OS is Windows 2000. Scene that immediately comes to mind is Two Idiots One Keyboard. Also, every single hacker takes the time to change to neon green font and a black background for their terminal. Heroes never reloading their weapons. Or when they do, and they just drop the magazine and go. Those things aren't cheap. My mom calls those movies one shot and 5 corpses are running round the corner. This one. I think it's one of the many reasons I love the John Wick movies so much. They put a focus on him at least needing to get ammo. Never saying goodbye, or equivalent. When finishing a phone call, they just hang up. Also, making plans with someone without specifying the time and or place. Him, can I take you out for dinner tonight? Her, sure, pick me up at 8. Him at 8, I really should have asked for her number, or her address, or name, or I'll see you Thursday. Okay. Blows to the head, knocking someone out for exactly as long as is convenient for the plot with no long-term consequences whatsoever. Even otherwise realistic shows and movies are guilty of this. In reality, an blow to the head strong enough to knock you out is likely to cause brain damage or even death. Another variant is the perfect amnesia. You don't know who you are or what happened, but otherwise you are just fine. There's a movie I can't remember now that pokes fun at this. The guy's just like, ow, why would you do that? Just tie me up. Do you know the damage you could cause? Or something along those lines. Wish I could remember the movie. This seriously makes me cringe. If you hit someone hard with a pipe on the head, they will probably die. If it's on the temple, it doesn't even have to be hard. On the other hand, what about when someone is hit on the back of the head with a vase? The vase shatters, and the person falls down. So dumb. Yeah, everybody knows that it's chloroform that pauses your consciousness instantly and lets you fully recover after spending 5 seconds saying, "Ow, my head." In a horror movie, everyone acts insanely stupid. No one ever believes each other. They go outside to investigate a loud noise when there's been a string of murders, etc. Our best chances if we split up. If you haven't seen it, Cabin in the Woods parodies this while still being a pretty good horror movie. I like how Cabin in the Woods explains this. They're being manipulated and drugged into making poor decisions. I hate when characters can't be bothered to turn the fucking lights on. I'm just going to stumble around in this dark house and never bother looking for a light switch, because the darkness looks scarier on film. PFFFT, this virus is no big deal. I need a haircut. Quote, that would be ridiculously stupid in a horror movie. Right, but seeing reality, I think horror movies are much less stupid than I used to. When some stranger comforts or distracts a kid from something horrible with some bullshit. The kid just saw their mom get eaten by a werewolf, a toy train, and the hero hugging them does nothing. I also hate how most kids act like drugged up placid morons. Or on the opposite end of that scale, possess the wisdom of an 80-yo when the adults are clueless. Hudson. This little girl survived longer than that with no weapons and no training. Why don't you put her in charge? Quote, everything ending well. It doesn't annoy me like crazy, though. I'm just not happy when there are terrible decisions that yield no negative consequence. Looking at you, Hallmark. All CPR scenes. It is not realistic at all. To be fair, doing it realistically would break the actor's rib cage, so I think this one qualifies as an acceptable break from reality. Guns with infinite ammo. Guns that click and clack whenever they're moved. Or bad guy draws a hammerless Glock and it makes the sound of a revolver being cocked. People having a shootout inside and then a normal voiced conversation moments later. Spoiler: SWAT teams don't use suppressors for stealth. They use them because firing a rifle inside is loud as fuck. And cops and government agents who walk around with their finger on the trigger. Outside the trigger guard until you're ready to shoot, goddammit. I always count the rounds when it's a handgun. Which is one of the many reasons why John Wick was fucking amazing. Where's Sterling Archer when you need him? Or guns with no recoil. Or police officers who scout a building with their finger on the trigger the whole time. Has a 10-course meal right in front of them. Grabs strawberry. Honey, I gotta run. Quote, how defibrillators are used to restart a person's heart. They don't, they only help to re-establish a regular heartbeat. Especially for you. Empty cups and cans and suitcases. For crying out loud, just put some water in that Starbucks cup. Give our brains a little help ignoring the glaring ignorance to the laws of fluid dynamics, gravity, and the human musculoskeletal system. Put some water in those suitcases. Living in big houses, apps, while working as a server. I'm a stay-at-home clown and my wacky roommate makes crystal jewelry for train dance. We live in Queens and our apartment is 15,000 square feet and fully furnished. How bullets are flying all over and the good guys don't get hit once. People Googling exactly what's happening to them and getting the answers they're looking for. Happens a lot in scary movies. The house is being haunted by the ghost of a tall man. And the owners Google tall man ghost and find exactly the article that explains who the ghost is and what happened to him.